I'm Cameron Edwards. We farm in southwest Lancashire and we grow mainly arable crops, wheat, barley, oats, oilseed rape beans, and then we also grow some potatoes as well. Get me walking through a puddle if you want.
I'm Catherine Wright and we farm at Tarleton, and we're mainly salad growers, growing lettuce, Chinese leaves, celery and cabbage.
I'm Steve Dennany from Barton Moss in Eccles in Manchester. Farmed here for nearly 40 years, growing potatoes, carrots, cabbages, cauliflowers and cereals.
So our soils are mainly peat. We do have some heavier ground, but I'd say 80% of the farm is on peat.
We have sort of three main soil types, but the predominant one is peat.
This is black soil with underlying peat, probably 9 inches of topsoil and then down to peat of about 3 metres to 5 metres to 7 metres.
Issues facing the farm in the future are weather. The really bad rain events we're getting are just causing a lot of the farm to be underwater for 6, 7, 8 months a year.
So obviously there's peat shrinkage, and soil is sort of our biggest resource. So going forward we need to make sure we look after that so then we can carry on farming and producing the crops we do.
Well, farming's going through a tough time anyway, as everyone knows. It's all over the press at the moment. So we have to look at different ways of how we're going to make an income if we're going to stay in the job.
I would describe wetter farming as farming a crop at a higher water table.
It's wetting the peat up. So the peat, when it's been drying out in the past, is releasing huge amounts of carbon dioxide. So bringing the water table up, it's almost stopping that. I think there's still some release, but very, very little compared to conventional farming.
It isn't something you do as a whole farm approach. It's looking at certain areas fit in better for it. There's certain places we know that don't grow the crops as well as they could do, but they would probably be more ideal to raise the water table there and try perhaps even an alternative crop.
I was approached by Lancashire Wildlife Trust about doing a trial, just on a small scale to start with, doing 12 acres of growing bulrushes. It's a high value crop if we can get it right.
We applied for a TIFA trial and got the funding, and we thought, why not? Let's give it a go.
We decided to do it to see if it was one of the ways in which we could sort of manage our soils, manage the environment, look at whether we could grow our crops more sustainably. We just don't know, and it is the challenge because every grower really wants to grow something, and you take pleasure in the challenge of knowing whether you can.
I think it's a really good idea to have a mosaic. So on the wet ground we have wetter farming with all the extra payments we can get on that, and then on the drier ground we still farm conventionally to produce food.
Well, the risks with wetter farming are obviously the weather. That's the biggest risk. We don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. There's
nothing worse than having standing water. That kind of is the opposite of what we want to achieve.
There's a lot of work to do to a field to prep it for wetter farming, because you have to dig an exterior bund. That has quite a big financial impact.
If we want to raise the water table on certain fields, what impacts that can have on our neighbours, higher up or lower down.
Because it is such a new crop, we're unsure of agronomy, so we don't know the pests, the diseases, how it grows, best time to sow.
Wetter farming to me is an opportunity to try something new. We have an outlet for it. There's a company who are looking at taking the TIFA and using it for a natural lining for inside jackets, of which they have many orders apparently, and it's going very, very well.
It's all a bit of an unknown, but at the end of the day it's a trial. So if it doesn't work, there's plenty of other options we can try.
We hope from our point of view it's a good message to get out to our customers, not only on the produce but also from the environmental side of things.
If I was to advise any other farmers to do this trial, you have to make sure the funding is in place. If the funding's in place, I can't see a problem.
We need to think of a new type of farming because it is still very good productive land. It's just too wet to grow crops as we were growing them.